Welcome to your daily dose of dopamine. I'm Susan, that's Robert, and I'm really interested in talking to you about something.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes, this is a
It would suck
central
if you start up by saying, I don't care about talking to you about this, but here's
on.
something.
Yeah, just pass the time.
Ah,
No, this is about Parkinson's, it's about yaks, it's about improv, it's about the world we created, the world we live in, the world we're trying to promote and help the world understand.
good.
It comes from a basic premise, which maybe you can validate or verify that I'm sort of right in representing it this way. I hear us say often, and you and your teaching us how to do different games and stuff, reminding us that there's no right or wrong answer. There's no right or wrong. And so I thought I would ask you if you could tell me what you mean by right and what you mean by wrong.
Great, great question. Here's what I think philosophically improv suggests, as I understand it, and what I'm shooting for in that statement of no right or wrong, that no one individual is God. Okay, we're staying away from ego. We're staying away from demagoguery. We're staying away from what is the word I'm looking for? That is narcissism, unless we're playing with it, unless we're presenting it in an honest fashion to see it in the light of day, right? That's wonderful. Anything, and I know this touches third rails with some people, but anything to me can be funny if it's presented via the lens of truth and comedy. Okay. I had a joke like that in my mind this morning that I can't recount, it's out of context, but it was something where I immediately thought it, and it was that old line, the Mel Brooks line about time plus tragedy, tragedy plus time rather, equals comedy. And to further that, he said, perspective, you falling down, me cutting my finger is a tragedy. You falling down a manhole and dying is comedy. That's perspective. That's Mel Brooks. And again, when you take that off the literal, you see the brilliance of that. And it speaks to I think the same thing you're talking about with no right or wrong. No one, especially me as a Sherpa, is the God, is we're transferring and we're playing back and forth. Shine a light, shine a light. It's you. Remember the game of you. That's what it's about. Who's right now? You're right. Well, I couldn't be right, sir, because you're right. Well, I couldn't be right, ma'am, because you're right. That's what no right or wrong means. How does that play?
It answers the question about an individual focus that we don't want. And I 100% not only agree with you, Robert, but that's not what happens. I don't feel like, I mean, you absolutely are at risk of being put up on a pedestal by all of us because you're the guy in the front of the class, you're our teacher, and we like what you teach and we keep coming back. So it's sort of inherently obvious that we think
Isn't this
highly
the
of you.
yaks factor? By the way, I'm going to note that and put it, isn't this the yaks factor in a nutshell? Because you
Yes,
used to call it the Robert factor, and I told you
yes,
how uncomfortable that made me, and
yes,
that's exactly it.
yes,
So
yes.
please see the notes for the yaks factor, brilliant blog that Susan wrote. Continue.
It's on yesandexercise.com. That's where you can find that
I'll get the link to it.
essay called, yeah, the X Factor. Beyond that, Robert, it actually came up because of the letter that I'm writing. And in response to talking about it, you said something about I don't, you don't strive for right. You just want to, get your thoughts out there and represent. And I think that's what kicked off this series of thoughts in my head because in a letter, maybe different from a game, but in a letter, um, right isn't something that anybody gets to judge except me. It's my standard or my level of confidence and comfort that I'm expressing what I'm trying to express. So that's a different kind of right, is it not? Then.
I'd call that perspective.
Hmm.
There's clarity, there's confidence. That's
Hmm.
not right. Right means an ownership of a worldview, and that includes other people in your world. Perspective and competence means ownership of your worldview. This is right for me.
So we're together there in that context. So let's take it back to an improv game
Okay.
where you see one of us, let's say me, kind of look off. And many times you've commented that is when we're getting into our head, seeking the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there might be anything else going on when that's happening?
Man, I don't know if you touched the third rail today, but this is the second one you're going to do, and we're out of time. It's a whole nother thing. You're because we're going to see it differently, and we've gone round and round that. Folks, you've seen 2 in a row, Robert and Susan, who get together and collaborate on so many things. We see it differently. You're hinting at something we've done behind the scenes for so long. And it's okay for it to be different. I stand by my belief 100% that looking off means that. You say it's not something different. We're not going round and round here on that. We see it differently. And that's great. We see it differently is growth because we still love each other. This is a positive regard.
Right. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
No, and I'm not going to allow us to either go overtime or debate something that is meritless at the moment because there's no right or wrong.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah.